friends, it's Kristen. For this week's craft, we're going to be making felt versions of my favorite urban legend, Mothman. So if you'd like one of these supernatural stuffies for your own, register online for your kit and keep watching for the full tutorial. We're going to start by cutting out our templates. We're going to cut these bodies and the wings, and we're going to need to cut out 4 wings on the black felt and 2 Mothman bodies. And the easiest way I found to do this is to flip this guy over, put some tape on the back, and then fold the felt in half, put some tape on there to hold it together while you're cutting, and just stick him down like that and cut around the whole thing. It's because the felt is black, it's very hard for you to draw on and be able to see when you've traced your Mothman. This way you can see exactly what you're doing. So you're going to cut all the way around here and up here until you have 2 Mothman bodies. Now you can see they're not perfect, but that's okay, because when we sew it together, this is going to get turned inside out, so all this rough stuff on the outside is actually going to be on the inside, so no one's going to see it but you. So first step is to thread our needle. Take that right there, and what you can see, if I can get the camera to focus, that little hole in the tip of the needle is called the eye, and you need your thread to go through the eye of that needle. So this is one of the more frustrating, depending on how good your eye-hand coordination is. But you're going to pop that right up through the eye of the needle. If you can't, you can always kind of pinch it off or lick your fingers and get it a little wet. You almost never get it right the first time, so don't feel frustrated if you can't. I got it right the first time on the other shot of the video, but that file got corrupted, so there's no footage of me getting it right. So, here we go. So now you see you have it threaded there, so you're going to end here. You're going to pull it, so you have pretty much long thread on both sides. That way you won't accidentally slip out while you're sewing. Long on both ends. What you do is you're to take the end of one of those strands of thread, and then we're going to knot it a couple times. A couple ways to do this. You can wrap it around your fingers, tuck it, which is what I usually do, because I have tiny little fingers. But that's not cooperating today. So what I'm going to do is loop it back around this and just tie it off. And just lift it up and over. So when you pull it, you have a knot. It's going to be a little knot, so you're actually going to want to do this twice, because otherwise when you're sewing, you can actually pull right through the felt. So now I have 2 knots. And we're going to start on one side of the Mothman, sew all the way around here, up both feet, and about halfway up this side. So take a look at your pieces and decide which part you like to have on the outside. One side's a little bit fuzzier than the other, so pick whatever you want. I like this side better. And then line up your 2 bodies. So the legs line up. And you can do the same thing as when you were cutting. Just put some tape in between there so it doesn't come apart when you're sewing. And that way, if you have to stop and take a break,
Your Mothman's not going anywhere. So we are going to go down through both sides of the felt and just pull gently until our knot catches. See, now it's caught. And then you're just going to go back up through the other side. Always make sure you go through both pieces of felt each time you make a stitch. And then we're just going to go up and down all the way around. Keep them fairly close together while you're starting because we're going to be stuffing this guy. And if you leave big holes, your stuffing's going to come out. So you got about a piece of thread that size. It's like half my pinky nail. And so you're just going to keep flipping and going back and forth between the two. That's not enough. Until you've worked your way around. Now we started with the big Mothman piece rather than the wings, even though the wings are less sewing and a little less irritating when you're just starting out. But because we're stuffing Mothman, we're turning the body inside out. So this way when you're still learning the stitches, it's okay if they're messy because these ones no one's going to see. When we stitch the wings, the stitches are going to stay on the outside. So by the time you start your wings, you'll be a pro. And your stitches will look just the way you want them to. Now I'm doing okay here, but every once in a while when you pull, your thread could knot or it will come out of the needle. If that happens, just pause, rethread your needle, and start back up again. Or if you get frustrated, take a break. I got real frustrated when I started doing this because I was still learning how to sew. So there were a couple times I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done for the day. And that's okay. But if you ever want to take a break, just make sure you've tucked the needle somewhere that felt like this, just so there's no point sticking out. So it saves your place, but you're not accidentally going to jab yourself or anyone else who happens to see that and pick that up. So just keep sewing down here, then up and around, and meet me back here, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so you can see I've done all the way around the edge of the Mothman except for this one little pouchy pouch. To finish off here, what you're going to do is you're going to take the end and then just tuck your needle back through the last stitch you made here. Try not to get out of the felt. I'm trying to get just the string. There we go. And just pull that through there. Your needle off. Put it somewhere you're not going to forget it. You don't actually poke yourself, which I've done twice already. And you're just going to make another couple knots here. It's important to double knot in this step because this is going to be one of the knots that holds your Mothman together when you turn him inside out. So you can just make a loop and tuck the end of your string that just came off the needle and just pull it right up through. Like I said, do it twice at least. Try and make it as close to the body as you can. But if you can't, that's okay, because like I said, it's going to be on the inside. No one's going to know there's a baggy thread there but you. Once those knots are tied off, give it a little trim, put that thread to one side. So now it's time to turn this inside out and see how we did. So you start by opening the flap like a pillowcase. Kind of get your finger in there. If you've taped it like I have, pull the tape out. And then just gently, easiest way to do it is get your thumb in there, kind of pop it, and start with the head. And tuck the head down and through, like you're turning a sock inside out. Then you can get your finger on the other side and help pop it all the way out. And then come up to the leggies and do the same thing. Now, the legs aren't going to pop out on their own, so don't be stressed if it just looks like a blob right now. Out the rest of the head. You can see a little bit of the stitching, but not all of it. So nobody knows if your stitches are raggedy. So you can use a pen or a pencil for this. I like to use a clean chopstick because it's not too pointy on the edges. But you can just sort of poke that inside there and go down the legs. And that's going to help poke your legs out nice. It just takes a little bit of patience. And you see, there it goes, and pop. That's nice. It's kind of satisfying once you get it to go. Like all of a sudden, it'll pop. I'm gonna do the same thing with this leggy here. And there we go. Two tiny little Mothman feet. Just pop it down and shake it out. Now apparently I didn't tie mine as well as I thought I did, so the stitches came undone on this side, but that's okay. We can fix that at the end. If you've got any loose thread, pull it tight now. It's all ready for stuffing. So, take a little bit of this. We start with the legs because it's the trickiest part. Just kind of pull it and squish it so it goes flat. You don't want it in a ball like that because it's not going to go down the leg holes, right? But just pop it in his side. Start with this leg first. Kind of get it right here. And using your chopstick or your pencil or whatever you use to pop the legs out. Just going to use that to stuff the legs. Stuff it in there good and tight. And this can be as soft or as firm a felty as you want. I like having firm legs and a squishy little body. So yeah, he's pretty firm. You can see a little bit there, so I may have overstuffed it, but if that happens to you, you can just stick your chopstick back in and pull a little bit out. Then you're going to do the second leg, and then the head and the body. So you keep stuffing. I'm going to fix this leg here, and I'll join you at the finish. So once your Mothman is all stuffed, you're just going to stitch like you did before. Kind of pinch that off. It's okay if there's some stuffing coming out of the end because we can trim that. And just go back and forth like you did before. Make sure you get through both pieces of felt. You're going to meet up right where you started when you first started sewing. And do the same thing you did before. Tuck that through the string. And then tie it off into a couple knots and cut it. And there's our body. And once you're done with that, you can just get the edge off. Make sure you cut above the knot, not below it so it stays. And then anything over here you don't like here's some extra string from where I tied on, just give it a little trim. Take some of the fuzzies off here until you get it just the way you like it. Now it's time to start on your wings. As you can see, I've already started mine, but what you're going to do, same thing with the Mothman body. Take 2 wings, put them face to face. This time make sure the face you want out is on the outside because we're not going to turn these inside out. But since I've already started, it's a good time to teach you what happens if you run out of thread and you have to start again. So I only had a little bit of thread on here, so I tied it off like I do the normal body, but I need to start up again. So what you do is you just go back to the last stitch you did where you tied off and poke it down the same hole as the very last stitch you did. Make sure you go through both and just pull it. I didn't want to make the same mistake again, so this thing of yarn is very long. And now you're just going to take right back up where you left off. And this way you don't have an extra stitch or any extra stuff hanging out. My yarn is all tangled up off camera. Yeah, so you can see, you can't even tell that I ran out of yarn. And just go right back to it. And you're going to sew all the way around the edges of your wings and just finish it off. You're not going to have to leave a hole this time. So when you get to the end, tie it off like you did with the body, start your next set of wings. And so you'll have 2 wings that look like this when you're done, front and back. Now we're going to finish off our wings. You can decorate these any way you want. You have crepe fabric to cut out, and you've got a bunch of little red dots. So I've done a couple different ones at the oops. I've done ones with just the red dots and ones with the gray with the spots. So it looks like he's got another set of eyes. For this one, I think I'm going to do the gray again. All you're going to do with this is glue. I'm using hot glue because it dries very quickly. And just put a little dab on there. Not too much, because a little goes a long way. And maybe use a pencil or a chopstick too, because you want to press this down flat, but you don't want to burn your fingers by pressing too hard on hot glue. You can test out how this looks by putting the body on it and kind of seeing how it's going to look once the wing's on. And see how you like it. I think I'm going to put some dots on there too. I like having that spooky eyeball effect, because that's a big part of the Mothman legend, is that you hear a screech and then you see big glowing red eyes in the dark and nothing else. With these, I'm definitely going to use the chopstick because I don't want to get a finger full of hot glue. And you can put them up high like that, or I put these ones down low. It's however you like your Mothman to look. That's the important thing, that you like how it looks. And you're just going to finish gluing all those on the wings to get the wings the way you want. When it comes to eyeballs, you have a choice. You can either use more of these red dots and have plain, whoop, this eye does not want to stick, for example, plain red dots like that, or I'm going to include some sparkly eyes. I'm going to do the sparklies this time so he has spooky reflective eyes. These have some sticky on the back of them, but I found it doesn't hold very well, so I hot glue them for security. This one has a better sticker than the first one, but I'm going to glue it anyway, just to be sure. It's not so spooky when his eye falls off. Getting a lot of use out of this chopstick. And then if you make a mistake while the glue is still hot, you can kind of also use the chopstick to move it around and make sure they're lined up. Or not. If you like a wonky eye Mothman, go for it. If you want to put googly eyes on here or something else, go for that too. Alright, so get all these set, let them dry for about 10 to 20 minutes, and then we're going to finish the assembly. Okay, if you used hot glue like me, you might have some of these stringy little bits on there, so before we assemble it, just pick off your strings, clean up anything you don't like, because once he's put together, it's going to be hard to clean certain areas off, especially in the insides of the wings. So, get all the glue goo off. It's time to put our wings together. Put those side by side. Figure out which ones you want to go back, which way you want to go on the front. Oh, spooky. I think I like that better. So you're just going to take this, you're going to put a line of glue along the straight side of the wing here. And stick this other wing to it and kind of pinch it like that. So you've got a little bit of a bump there. And just sort of hold it. Obviously, if you're doing regular glue, it's going to take longer than hot glue. In which case, you can just sort of pin it together with your needle, or use a paper clip or a clothespin. And let that dry nice. And while I'm letting mine set, I'm going to get that piece of glue that's bothering me. set. This way his wings stick out a little bit when you stick them onto his back. And then we're going to flip him over and just put glue here along the edge. Put that down the center of the back. Then open this up a little bit. Get it sort of lined up the way you like it. Then you can put glue here along the back. Glue this part down. And then do the same on the other side. So those are nice and secure. Now, if you don't like the way this looks when it's on, just kind of let the glue dry, and then you can trim it off. Or if it's hot glue and it's still hot, you can pull it off. But there is your Mothman. You can do a little string through there, make him if you want to hang him up. Put him in there. My boyfriend lets his ride around in his front pocket when he goes places. But there you go. Have fun. Enjoy your monster Mothman. And if you'd like to sign up for a kit, go ahead and register online right now. Have a great day.